Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about personality roleplay. This is the answer to a question from a channel member. Interestingly, they asked the question and I wanted to think about it because I wanted to make sure I answered it correctly. And also, since I don't write dialogues much anymore, I wanted to make sure I'd framed my answer correctly. Anyway, Vazenkov asked, lately I've been thinking a lot, about something I call personality roleplay. Perhaps designers have their own term for it. I'm talking about conversations with multiple reply options that ultimately or immediately lead to the same outcome and are basically just different flavors of the same reply. I'm interested to know what you think of personality roleplay in video games. Is it something that should be obviously differentiated from important choices to allow players to deviate from the top listed reply without pressure, or not, to allow surprise consequences? That's a good question. I thought about this for a long time. I love it. I love it. With a big asterisk. If you've watched any of my videos, I'm a huge fan of choices in an RPG. It's the whole point of why I think people should play RPGs over like shooters or adventure games or whatever. You may find better puzzles in an adventure game, and you may find, better combat mechanics in a shooter, but what I'm playing an RPG for is to make my own character with their own set of skills and see how they can go through that story. And I want the story to adapt, which means I want reactivity to my choices. So when you say you want personality role play, I'm all there for that, but I want there to be some kind of consequence for that choice. So I realized I've already put this into a perfect context in one of my previous videos where I talked about the origin of dumb dialogue, where I had a player who made a very low intelligence D&D fighter, I think he was, and I made him talk monosyllabically. I knew there was no way to really control him having ideas, but I could at least control what he would say at the table. And it was fun. Once people got in the spirit of it, it was really fun watching him try to figure out how to convey stuff he knew, what other NPCs had told him, things he had seen when he was on his own, to the other players in single-syllable words. Because I think I even told the story. Dragon is 2 syllables. Fire is 2 syllables. So after seeing a red dragon, he was hard-pressed to describe the danger that was about to befall the group. So I loved those low intelligent dialogues, and I started putting them in my game, starting with Fallout had them, Arcane them really, I think, went over the top with them. I really liked Arcanum. Did it in other RPGs after that. Here's what I want to point out, and this is why I consider this personality roleplay. The dumb player character can still get the quests in the game. Well, I should probably say most quests. He can get all the main quests in the game. Because you don't want to play a dumb character and then realize, oh, this prevents me from finishing the game. That would be dumb. So, obviously the dumb character can still get all the main quests. Probably can even get almost all the side quests. And maybe even they can't get a side quest here and there, but maybe they can get a side quest that only they get. But the way they get the main quest may be different. Maybe the quest giver realizes how stupid the person is and starts saying different things to them. Maybe they change the quest slightly and just go get the thing. I don't care how, just go get it. Maybe it's just a slightly different flavor. In Arcanum, we actually changed your quest journal. So because it was supposed to represent what you wrote down. So it was you remembering what the person told you to do and writing it in a very dumb way in your journal. I love that because it meant that a dumb player character had a dumbly written journal. So if a week later the player came back to play that character, he had to figure out what that dumb entry was. That was a consequence on you, the player. Still got the quest. The game is still going to proceed the same way. You still got the quest. You still got to do the quest. Still got to turn the quest in. And maybe, like most main quests, there are multiple ways of doing it. Maybe the dumb character doesn't have all the multiple ways, because maybe if you're dumb, you won't get all the speech responses. But it can be solved by you. So I would say that's how I wish all of personality role playing would go. If you make a character with particular personality traits, maybe there's a perk called aggressive or sarcastic, or maybe there's a diplomacy skill and you put a lot of points into it. You want to see those options appear in dialogue. At the very minimum, you want to say something different, and you want to see the NPCs respond differently. Even if what this means is the diplomatic character can get the quest right away, where the non-diplomatic character may have to do a side quest first to prove that they really have the, Crown Regent's best interests at heart. So like the dumb character, you're still going to get those quests. Maybe it's a different path in the dialogue. Maybe you have to do something first. Maybe the quest has a slightly different flavor to it when you get it, but you'll still get it. Also, those personality traits may have effects in the world. Maybe an NPC doesn't like you very much. Maybe you're too aggressive and it changes their reaction to you. So in Arcanum, that would mean they'd greet you differently. If they were a shopkeeper, they'd have higher prices for you because they just don't like how you come in and go, hey, what's going on today? Or, hey, I want to buy stuff. I don't want to wait in line. Let me buy. They just don't like you. So it would be great to see those effects reflected in the game world, but they don't have to be gigantic changes. If Arcanum, if you just change the NPC's reaction a little bit, that already has systemic changes. So the player taking a personality trait that's negative knows what to expect from having a low reaction from people. And by the way, if you gain a low enough reaction, sometimes you're kill on sight. And if it's a NPC that's in charge of a faction, that entire faction you may lose standing with them because you pissed off the leader. So, and the reverse can happen too, that maybe personality traits can help you. The diplomatic person can get in good with this faction a lot faster and a lot easier than the non-diplomatic PC. Those are the kind of effects I want. So, let's say, given that, I do think that those dialogue options need to be clearly labeled. We did not do that in Fallout, but we started doing that in Arcanum, and then we did it even more in the Outer Worlds. And I think for that, the reason for that they should be clearly labeled is seeing the reason that you can say a line in dialogue that a player character normally wouldn't get reinforces those points that you spent, those choices you made in character creation or character advancement. So they serve a purpose other than just to say, hey, here's a special line. It's like, oh, and it's special because of this reason at the front. Usually it's a prefix. You're dumb, or your diplomacy skill is over 20, so you can say this thing. It's really important to convey to the player, hey, you made this choice earlier, and now here's an effect of it. So I don't think that these choices that you make in dialogue need to be significantly different in the sense that they lead to wild differences in playthrough. Maybe they can. Maybe sometimes it's a big difference, but often it's just a small difference. And that's okay because a lot of small differences can add up. Your aggressive character may end up being disliked by a lot of people and a lot of factions, as opposed to a regular player character would be neutral or maybe even liked by all those people and factions. So that's a different right there. So they all charge him a little more in their shops. So he's paying a little more for being a jerk. Not huge. He may not even notice it over the playthrough of the game, but I like that it's there. So, Bazinkov, you said, quote, multiple reply options that ultimately or immediately lead to the same outcome, unquote. I think it's fair to say that I'm in the camp of ultimately lead to the same outcomes, but with different flavors, different paths, and different side effects that may linger after that outcome. That's what I think personality role play should be in RPGs. And I think they should be in RPGs because otherwise, what other game are they going to be in? And if you don't have enough of that role-playing aspect in your role-playing game, then you're not really making a role-playing game. You're making something else. Anyway, I hope this answers your question, Bazinkov.